Oh, man. Wow. Welcome to Unkillable. Yet we die every week. It is. I just got to put my glasses on for one thing. I gotta just read something here. So after the first quarter today, right? After the first quarter, the Jets used all their timeouts. They had 4 penalties. They missed a point after attempt. In the fourth quarter, they had a delay of game penalty on a 2-point conversion 3 times early in the game before May got hurt. Oh, by the way, no, I'm not bleeding. I just had a cough drop. That's what that. And George the Animal Steel, only it's red. They kept sending 3 rushers to the left of the center, and they spoke about this on the broadcast. 3 guys going this way. Oh, what do you know? Drake May, there's only 25 yards of space to go the other way. To start the third quarter, you got a horrendous team on the ropes. Just bury them, right? Just snatch their little pathetic soul and score. And they can't score. And then 3rd and 9, Brissett, 14-yard scramble. Brissett. Then Sauce got absolutely roasted on that one play. Guys, I mean, there are franchises who really don't give you much. And then there's franchises a little bit below that who really don't give you anything. And then there's this franchise who owns the Hollywood script. It's trademarked of ratcheting up the hype, getting us fired up, and then coming out and doing something that is unimaginable to do. They just lost to the Patriots. Let that sink in. They lost to the Patriots. I don't want to watch another game the rest of the time. I honestly might do every podcast here, the rest of podcast civilization, and never watch another second of this team play. That there's a lot of pods out there, and it's my goal to make this the spot for Jet fans. And by the way, my man Evan's going to be chiming in throughout the show, and you guys can comment. Listen, it's uncensored. Do whatever you got to do. Evan will drop a few at me. I'll respond to him. But I actually think that I'm going to corner the market on the only and maybe eventually have the only football podcast where I talk about one team, yet I never watched that team play. Why? Well, I know the answer. Why? Why do we watch this? Because we hope it's going to get better. And now, at 2-6, does anybody give a shit about the Texans game? The answer is no. Not one scintilla of a shit. 0 shits given. 0. And the crazy thing, I'm getting ready I got like 6 pages of notes. Who cares? They lost. I mean, I'll chart every play and I'll make a little notation. This guy was offsides. This guy ran a bad route, bad throw by Rodgers, bad coaching decision, whatever. All right. I'll reference a few additional things that I haven't referenced yet. But I'm watching the game as I start to, in my own mind, construct the start of this particular pod. Episode 3, by the way. And the season's already over. And I'm thinking, all right, I'm probably going to start it this way. They won, and yet it feels like they lost. No. They lost. They lost to the Patriots. So, I mean, I don't have any answers. If you're coming here for answers, there's no answers to be given. The fact that Greg Zuerlein is still on this team is an absolute fucking disgrace. Disgrace that this guy's still on the team. Disgrace. So I've heard the word accountable and accountability, versions of accountable, right? 15 times in the last 3 weeks. Yet a guy who gets PATs blocked and just rips, 40 yarders, 15 yards to the left, is somehow still on the team. Now, it's not all Zerline's fault. Well, I mean, if you actually look at the score and what he didn't do, yes, quite literally it is. But, a bad team and an atrocious franchise like our New York Jets are, and will always be until they sell the team, Woody and Chris, because that's always the origin of the issues. Pod number 3, I think I'm on autopilot. I think a couple times I've already said the same thing. You could change the coach. You could draft a different quarterback. You could get a left tackle in the draft. He stinks. Get an old left tackle. He stinks too. You could do a million variations. You could take a safety at 6 overall, and then the next pick a safety because the league's going vertical and you think you're smarter. This goes back to obviously Jamal Adams. And you go, we're going to attack this differently, and we're going to be the smart ones here, and we're going to figure out a way to stop the vertical concepts of the NFL. No, you're not. Both are gone, and both stunk, really, at the end of the day. And no matter what else you do, and I don't even feel like screaming about this right now, so I won't. But I'll also have those fluctuations that you've seen on the first 2 pods. I'll laugh, I'll yell, but at the end of the day, I will come back to where we always reside. And it's just the internal, on most levels, belief that it will never, ever change. When? Who's the quarterback next season? Roll back Rodgers? Now, Aaron made some great throws. He really did. But, man, and there was a moment. Actually, that line drive throw to Wilson, Garrett played really well. I actually thought he may have caught that ball at the end. By the time he rolled around, I thought that was more completed than not, but whatever. Of course, you don't get the breaks. But when Rodgers threw that little line drive, I'm like, okay. Now, in my mind, they're going to win ugly, and it's you're not going to feel great about it, but you conjure up the emotion for Thursday. Texans aren't infallible, and now you start to see this offense. You're like, all right, you got Adams, you got Garrett finally clicking with Rodgers. You've got the remnants of a running game. Jets were more committed to the run today, which was great to see. And Gibson popped a long 40-something yard return. There were some good things. Reddick played. Reddick was in on a half a sack with Q. Q gets hurt at the end. We're like, what Achilles? Did his knee shatter? What happened? Nope, he came back to the game. So you dodge a bullet there. And at least in my mind, I'm like, all right. Not going to be easy. The path is going to be complicated. But now, as I told you last week on the fan and on this pod, Unkillable, if you beat the Pats, and I said that they would, wrong again, and you find a way to beat the Texans, now the season's really, truly on. But it's not. Hey, Evan, by the way, let me get my guy Evan up on screen for the first time. Where's Evan? Evan is my producer for the Unkillable pod. There he is. There's a happy Jets fan. Evan, how you doing, buddy? Okay?
Yeah, I'm it was tricky at the end there too, because I was like, Rodgers can't move. So if we're throwing it to Garrett Wilson in the middle of the field,
I know
he's not even going to get there before.
He's going to limp up to the line of scrimmage, and with our luck, we'll probably snap it as a dude. Just hit 0. It really is amazing. I'm going to have you read some stuff in a minute. It's amazing to me how the simple things of operation, like it. I'm sure it's happened. I don't want to get overly wrapped up in Jet drama and be unnecessarily hyperbolic, but I can't remember the last time there was a delay of game on a 2-point conversion. I can't remember that. It's absolutely amazing. And then, like, really. And I'm going to have somebody look this up. I can't imagine that any team in the history of the NFL has called 3 timeouts, not 2, all of them in the first quarter. It is just sad. It's sad, dude. All right. So, before you start reading some stuff here. So we have a little scroll bar, a little comment section, right?
Yep.
People, what? In a word, you're a smart dude. In a word, succinctly summarize the state mentally of my brethren right now. Where are we going? Is it apathy? Is it lunacy? What's gonna hit me right now?
I think we got a mixture of it's over.
Yes.
We got a mixture of suck for Sanders. We got to come up with these new names.
Quit for
Quinn, suck for Sanders.
Oh, really?
What's going on? We got play Jordan Travis, even though
he's not healthy. Yeah.
And then we just got a bunch of like, unless they sell the team, like you were saying earlier, unless they sell the team, we're never going to get better.
Well, let me before you read a few here, let me just suspend any doubt. This season's unequivocally over. I mean, done, dead, nail, coffin, ashes, cemetery, over. So read a few. Let's see what we got here, my buddy.
All right. So one of the early ones, which was just a question about the game that I thought was kind of interesting. Joseph Catalino said, "Was that touchdown they scored on? Was that truly a touchdown?" Because the review was kind of like tricky. I mean, granted, you're picking hairs, but
yeah. Well, I mean, even if it wasn't, they're getting to the next play. Like they're going to score. So, I mean, I watched it. They replayed it. Now it always comes down to what's the initial call on the field. If that's ruled down, well, now you have the opposite down of the goal line, obviously, not a touchdown. Now, is there enough evidence to overturn that? And the answer is probably no. Conversely, they call it a touchdown on the field. You review it. You look at it from all the different angles. And despite what everybody thinks, nobody's out to screw the Jets. You know what I mean? It's not like they're sitting there with their video boards. Oh, how can we further, like the puppeteers, how can we further complicate these losers' lives? Let's screw them with 23 seconds to go against the Patriots. And if you don't win game, the season's over. No, it's not that. But if they would have, because of what they called, I think it was very hard to overturn. I don't know if you agreed with this. Did you think that Garrett Wilson held on to that pass at the end?
It was a tricky thing because at first in real time, I said absolutely. But then towards the end, it was like, and it's like the way they classify a catch is so confusing these days.
Yeah.
But toward the end, I saw him kind of like batting it a little bit. So I can kind of see why they thought it was a catch. But at the same time, if the Jets sped up and didn't allow them to review that, then I think that could have easily been a catch.
All right, give me another one. What do you got, Ev?
All right, so this guy named Black Star said, "Why did Sauce have outside leverage on Booty for that big catch?"
Yeah, well, I mean, the better question is why didn't he do his job? I mean, if you're assigned to a certain spot, and there's times you certainly question scheme. Should you run versus pass? Should you pass versus run? Should you blitz? Should you not? Should you go for it? All right, once you're put in a certain position, whether it's right or wrong, do your job, dude. Do your job. I mean, there was one little move, and Sauce was turned around on skates. Like, he is a light, weak tackler. We know that. But when he's now, a little jumpy, and his hips didn't turn real quick. Once he went one way, he was done. So it was just a really bad play by somebody who's been really amazing so far in his career. And that's probably just another reminder that it's broken. When your best young player, although Garrett was really good today, but remember the first pod, I criticized both Sauce and Garrett Wilson as the two young transcendent jet figures, two-time All-Pro for Sauce, not Pro Bowl, All-Pro, and all the things that he's put on film. Same with Garrett with bad quarterback play. The expectation was with Rodgers up for Wilson and Sauce now another year just to take that step. And before today, Wilson had taken a step back. Sauce either plateaued or a slight step back in certain spots. But hey, no matter why he was there, he just got burned, period. That's it. He got roasted.
Yep. Yeah, so the next one that I thought was just kind of funny, this guy, T. Pico, and said, "We got to get Woody back into politics. We got to make him for some other country. We got to make him ambassador."
Well, it might happen. We'll see what happens with the election. There's a good chance that if Trump wins, that I think he wants back in. And just go there and stay. It's not personal, dude. It's really not. It's not personal ever, but it is personal for us. Like the players change and the scripts, even though it always ends the same in terms of the final act, getting there is always a little different. But it's personal in the sense that, we're tormented, man. And again, the essence of this pod is to plow through it. Hence Unkillable. I've said that now because I don't want to assume everybody knows what's going on. Unkillable was after the Rodgers injury when I lost my mind with Sal on the fan the next day. We were unkillable, right? I couldn't tap out. They won the game, and I'm thinking, all right, piece it together. Good defense. You got some good pieces. Maybe they could have a good season. But I got to tell you, 3 episodes into the Unkillable pod, I'm having second thoughts. I think we're quite killable. I can't go there, but otherwise it's like false marketing. Holy shit. Give me one more. Give me one more. What do you got? Another one?
So there was a lot of like plays on the name, like Unkillable, very killable. There was a lot of Greg Zerline. Somebody said, should we turn around and trade Adams for a third? Which I don't know if you
Oh,
get.
jeez.
The deadline's coming up in about like a week or so.
Yeah. I mean, see, there is actually a conversation to be had where you could start to look at their best assets, pardon me, and say, what can we get for them? See, because and at least be open-minded to delving into the trade market from the other side of the table, not acquiring, but selling off. So this season's over. Ulbrich will be gone. Everybody will be gone. Joe Douglas will be gone. Unfortunately, the owner will not, but he's going to hire somebody, and he's going to have to give them complete roster power. And I don't mean a first-time head coach. I don't mean a first-time general manager. He's got to get two men in there, whether it's Belichick, whether it's Vrabel. We're already having the conversation. And yeah, I'm amenable to Belichick. No matter what he wrote on the napkin, no matter how many times he disses us, whether it's on the Manning cast or on McAfee, I don't care. I mean, when you're desperate, that's all right, dude. Make as many jokes as you want. If you can come save us, we'll ignore them all. And I love Vrabel. But if you can find that duo, head coach, GM duo, that work with great synergy, that maybe either work together before in the past and have a cohesion, I would prefer that they start on some level, like I can pragmatically get my mind there with just an abundance of draft choices and, not necessarily players going into year 4. And I'm not saying I want to trade Sauce and Garrett. I mean, it's a little it's a little wacky on the level, but you're gonna have to pay both of these guys massive money. And the Jets have not been able to, like some other teams, Mahomes before he got paid, to win during the window of a young quarterback on his rookie deal, whether it's year 1, 2, 3, and then you obviously got to commit beyond that. And if that doesn't happen, you got to chase the aging quarterback, whether it's Rodgers or Kirk Cousins or somebody like that, and see what happens. And I think that now I don't even really know what the direction is, because that's why I'm kind of just going through this. This is like the first time I've even thought about maybe trading some good players. Instead of trading good players, they're bringing guys in. People need to, and not Adams, I get that, but I mean, Reddick played today, and he was half a sack. He was in there, played about, I got to check the snaps. I know they said he was going to play about 25 to 30, but I'll check the final snap count after. They are bringing veterans in. 29, 30, Devontae's 32, Rodgers 40 with the trade. It's this mishmash of uncertainty and desperation and Hail Marys and Tyron Smith with a bad back at 33. But what a stunner. Vera Tucker's hurt again. Yeah, I will devote an entire episode soon. I'd say within the next 3 or 4, obviously, of who really is going to coach this team, who's the GM, and what's the play from a personnel perspective. All right, you got any more? Go ahead. I mean, I know a lot are there. What do you got? Give me something funny.
I mean, we got a lot of like boycotts, and they're raising the ticket prices, and they still suck. So that's not really a funny one. Jets should move to Egypt. Maybe Woody Johnson could take him to Egypt or the UK with them.
I'm sure you got the usual ayahuasca drug references here. You got a couple of those with Rodgers. I mean, think about this. Think about where we are.
And then there's just a lot of like coaching names. Pete Carroll, the Lions.
Not too old. Wait, hold on. I'll give me the names and I'll give you first reaction. Go.
Okay, so Pete Carroll, you say
old.
Ben Johnson.
Interesting. I know, interesting, but boy, I want somebody with head coaching cachet, but interesting. Go ahead. Anybody else?
A ton of Vrabel.
Yeah, Vrabel's a guy that I would have probably hired this offseason. And it's crazy, too. As much as we were all bagging on Saleh, it's actually gotten worse in a lot of ways. You know, I just, again, I'm looking at this, and I've got about 9 or 10 pages of notes, but I just keep going back to this one thing. 3 timeouts in the first quarter, dude. What are you doing in practice?
Yeah.
4 penalties and a missed punt in the first quarter. They had 19 drops coming into the year, which was most of the NFL. They put the graphic up there. And the truth of the matter is, the Patriots could have won going away if they didn't have 5 or 6 drops of their own. And you think about this, Evan, there were about 3 that were gash plays and would have been backbreakers where drive extended, the field position flips. Who knows? But I mean, what are they saying? I don't even know what you say in the locker room. Like, what does Aaron Rodgers come out and say today? What does he say? I feel badly for Ulbrich. He's in a tough spot. But like, what does anybody convey to the fans? It was already done. Think about, they fired one motivational bullet, right? And it was Adams as a new player. And I talked about this the other day, a Thursday, episode 2, on looking around and saying, man, what is wrong with this culture? We're getting 54-yard catch and runs by Brees, and it's like a funeral on the sideline. Nobody's alive. Nobody's awake. Nobody's engaged. Nobody's invested. Those are my words, but that's his premise.
Yeah.
And I respect that he felt that he had the freedom to do that, and the juice and the equity around the league to do that, because that's a tough spot to be in. Even though you're a future Hall of Famer and Rodgers is your boy, to come into that situation and do that takes balls. So he did it. What's next? I mean, there's nothing else to say. There's really nothing else to say. Jesus, man, I'm lost right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they lost to the Patriots. Just think about this, dude. They lost to that team. And did you see the way they celebrated too? They love the players. They were trying. Listen, it's their second win. Have fun. I'm not saying don't enjoy a win. It's tough, but it was extra personal. I see that stupid stadium with those dopey fans, and like, even when they are down, even when they are going nowhere, even when the dynasty has been reduced to rubble, they still end our season. That's effectively what they did. They ended our season.
Yep.
All right, give me a couple more. I just like to get the pulse here, get those comments and questions. I prefer questions more. But go ahead.
I mean, somebody, of course, now that since Salah's gone, they said, how would Salah do if he actually had a quarterback? Which is kind of an interesting one, since
well, I mean, listen. And I started to talk about Salah before a little bit. We were all on him, and there was just a thread of consistency, the wrong things, as the head coach. And you can't be exonerated for that. Like, I understood, and I always tried to delineate between, all right, young coach, learning on the fly, bad organization, and early, not a really good roster. A lot of young kids. Like, their most interesting players were rookies, So I wanted to, and I did love Salah. I was all in on the hire. I thought he was the one. And, I gave him as much room as humanly possible. And the way they entered the season, this is my final show. I wouldn't have brought him back this year anyway. I said that a few times, but the way is why I can't absolve him. They might look a little worse in certain aspects now without him, but I think certain aspects, they even look a little bit better, which complicates the analysis of Salah. Bottom line is this: Salah doesn't win, and Ulbricht's not winning, so it doesn't really matter. But I think that the way they opened the season, they didn't look physically ready to play. I know the Niners are good, but they're not as good as we thought necessarily. So I know Rodgers scraping the roster. I didn't go nuts. I really didn't go nuts after that game. Then the Tennessee game, talked about this a million times, didn't look ready. They were down 7-0. Then the fumble by Levis could have been 10-0, blah, blah. We know the stupid song and dance. We know what happened, right? And then you smack a horrible Patriots team at home, and you're like, all right, 2-1. Patriots was good. This is going to be the launch point to a style of play that's going to, yield positive results and going to be fun to watch. And, week after week, they just haven't stopped the run. Week after week, even their quarterback, forget about sack totals, their quarterback pressure. Too many times they've allowed quarterbacks who aren't even good athletes to flush and run and move the sticks. Safeties are jacked up with injuries. We've had a lot of drops. As I said, 19, I had a couple today. 19 coming in, led football, 19, number one, most drops. Even on a day where Conklin's involved and Garrett was great and they committed to the run, they still did enough things to lose, which means at the end of the day, you're just not good. That's it. This was a dream built on the softest foundation. I mean, arguably, when you look at the expectations commensurate with the franchise and where they've been and how imbalanced that was coming into the year, maybe in the history of the NFL. I mean, everything about it has been wrong. And, it's just these Sundays, man, they're melting away. They're melting away. Like, how old are you? How old are you? I don't even know. How old?
Yeah, I'm 23.
Okay. Evan's 23. All right. So when I was 23-ish, or right around there, I just started going to games, right? And that was like early Parcells, and it was good. And we know what happened. 98 almost got to the Super Bowl. Should have beat Denver, would have beat the Falcons, but didn't, whatever. And then, of course, week 1 with Vinny getting hurt, season over. And then, Al Groh, and then up and down, Herm, and everything that's happened since. But, like, if you would have told me specifically in 98, even in 97, when they went 9-7 with Bill, and I was at the 8 home games, that fast forward when I was your age to now, as a father of 2, 51 years old, there's no way. There's no way I would have thought that this was conceivable. All of this. They didn't just fail on one top 5 quarterback. They failed on 2 top 3 quarterbacks. So it is like there's disconcerting. And then there's really the next step, guy. And I won't let this happen. This is where this is what we're about. I will not let this happen, I promise. But even me with certain things, I mean, and I know many of you, whether it's the money, and I get it, charging, going to increase ticket prices for what? For what justification? Are you out of your mind? You got the balls to charge people more money to go and watch your shit team? Honestly, just think about that. Hey, guys, I know it's been rough forever. I know the economy's horrendous. Can you please reach into your pocket for more money as we actually get worse? Think about the sequence of events, Evan.
Yeah.
Think about that. I mean, so you're 23, you're hustling. And when I was 23, I was just getting into the business.
Yep.
And I was about a year or so away from my first radio job, which was in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And I think I made $16,000 my first year on the radio. 16,000. I mean, I was destitute, but I had I had nothing. I had this dream, and I was doing high school games for $50, high school football in Pennsylvania. Friday nights, $50. $50 was go out money. That enabled, because that enabled me to go out and have a couple beers and be a kid, right? But imagine, so I get it. When I was that young, scraping together money to go and buy a ticket. I mean, we have resources. We can get free tickets. Not that we want them now, but we could get them. But you're a 23, 24, 25-year-old Jet fan, or somebody in your early 30s. Maybe you just got married. Maybe you have young children, 40s, kids. Like, how do you justify doing that? How?
Yeah, and it's like the product just continues to get worse. And then you keep, like, Woody Johnson especially, keeps like propping it up as like, we got the most talented team ever. And it's like, yeah, but if you have the most talented team, but you don't have a good coaching, or if you have good coaching, but you don't have a talented team, like, you're going to lose regardless.
Yeah, I also think that this team's talent is vastly overrated. That's the other issue. Hey, do me a favor, pour through some more. I'm going to get back to you in a couple of minutes. Or I want to get a couple of good questions before we wrap things up. All right, good?
Yep.
All right, man. Thank you, Ev. So I do think that the talent's overrated. I really do. I mean, again, Garrett was great today, but Sauce and the guys who can get to the quarterback, like linebackers who can run, or certain guys who have speed, aren't necessarily great tacklers. I don't mean Quincy. I love him. But the front 4 defensively, they get pushed around. They don't get, they don't stop the tough yard. The offensive line, although they're definitely more of a commitment to the run today. But, how many times do you see a jet drive? I know modern football is a little different, but, 12 plays. I mean, this version of the Jets, 12 plays, 8-9 minutes, 70, 71 yards, whatever it might be, 75 yards. And you see the offensive line, so imposing their will on the other team, where you just know that they're slowly breaking the other team's spirit. They just keep cracking them and cracking them and cracking them and cracking them. And the harder you hit them, And the more effective you are, gaining 6, 7, 8 yards. And I mean, now you start getting some big boys in space. And now you got those guys who weigh a lot with some momentum going upfield, smashing people, safeties and corners and, even linebackers. They don't want to get knocked around by that kind of a player. And the more you do that, the more you land those body shots, eventually, what do you know? Play action. Oh, wide open touchdown. Like you don't see that. There's the physicality's not there. They have no identity. They don't. Like sometimes I feel like they're a little finesse. Sometimes I feel like, especially more the last game or two early on against the Steelers, they're trying to recreate the identity, which is not a bad move because they were too dependent on the pass and too predictable early in the season. So I thought they needed more balance, right? They abandoned the run far too early. Now I just don't know. I don't know what they are. I don't know who they are. Well, no, I know who they are. They're losers. That's it. They really are. And I don't mean, I would never use that word toward an athlete who on my best physical day, I couldn't dream of doing 1/1,000,000th of what they do. I do want to keep this, let's keep priorities. Let's keep perspective. Let's not get stupid doing this, right? They are physical superheroes. They're amazing. When I say losers, I mean mentality. I mean, collectively, they have allowed all of these expectations, right, to fill their head and think that they actually mattered when they did nothing tangibly, concretely to earn that distinction. And it fed their ego and walking around town. I mean literally, but like walking around like they arrived, right? And now they got popped in the face, and now the season's over. And now what's going to be really interesting is the Rodgers press conferences, the McAfee appearances. I don't know. I don't know where he's going to go from here, man. Now, he has been accountable. Last time, the Steelers game got to be better. There's no doubt. They're up, was it 15-6? I want to say with $1:40 to go in the second quarter when he hit Lazard on that. That was a great throw. 19-yard back shoulder throw right before the half. Then he throws the picks, the pick. So you like, and he owned it, all right? But if you're Aaron Rodgers and your ankle hurts and your knee hurts and your hamstring hurts, and every game I'm seeing at least 3 times, he's getting flailed to the ground. Not his credit. He gets up. Rodgers is not a physical specimen, but he is physically tough. He always has been. Excuse me. But how much more does this man want to take? And really, how much more do we want to watch of this? Now, there's nobody on the roster that's interesting enough to hand the ball to. We're not there. It's not like they have somebody that was a late first-round pick, and in a month, if it doesn't matter because win or lose, it's over. But even if they won a couple, but definitely if they lost a few, all right, you know what? It's about 2025. What does 2025 entail? Guys, we are looking at a wrecking ball. Well, thankfully, but a wrecking ball to the core of this organization, right? The coach, the GM, multiple offensive linemen, maybe the quarterback, other coordinators. At this point, CJ Mosley got hurt again. Massive respect for CJ. It's getting toward the end. I don't even know. It's tough to even push it forward. And I don't even know, and this is just a guess, and maybe he'll comment on this pretty soon. I would imagine he's going to be asked the question soon, probably by his buddy McAfee. Hey, you want to keep doing this? And I'm very curious what he says, because he's got enough money. He's fairly private with most, even though he hops on McAfee show, which has a great viewership. He's fairly private, and I think that unless he goes into politics, who knows down the road, but I think Rodgers will be fairly happy, when he's done playing a lot of golf, being an intellect, reading, having a podcast, espousing on things he believes in, and kind of riding off into the sunset. And I mean, doesn't it feel, even though he made some great throws today, and even last week, every week he's had a couple of throws where you're like, man, why couldn't we have that when he was 25? We get him that because you see just that little flick, like it's, oh man, without even gathering his body and getting any momentum into it, just a little flick, tight spiral, tight window. It's gorgeous. There's a reason why I have always said, I don't think I'm alone on this, that Aaron Rodgers is the most talented quarterback I have ever seen in the history of the NFL. Ever. Now, don't compare that, because stuff gets hijacked. So I'm here to make sure it doesn't. Not that I really care, but I want clarity with this. All right. He's not the GOAT because Tom Brady is. He won more. Montana got to 4 Super Bowls, never lost. Peyton Manning was probably even a bit more in terms of that intellectual and intuitive control of the game mentally, that Jedi. Peyton was there a tick beyond Rodgers, but Peyton couldn't run. Brady couldn't run. Montana wasn't big. He could scramble, but he wasn't big. You think about Steve Young was amazing, but started late. Actually, really amazing. He's probably a guy where if he would have played right away, he'd be higher. But even some of the other quarterbacks from back in the day, like Terry Bradshaw, won 4 Super Bowls. And I know the league was very different. Look at his stats. Dan Fouts, the Hall of Famer. I think his first year, he had like 6 touchdowns and 24 picks. Some of the numbers were, again, different game, get it. They didn't really have screen passes and all these easy dumps to get back shoulder throws, to get easy completions, to get the numbers up. I obviously understand that. But historically, now you got Mahomes, of course, but Lamar's great, hasn't won anything. Dan Marino, for me, the best arm, along with Elway, and Elway's up there too. Marino couldn't move, but he could fire it. Man, he had some rocket. And John Elway had everything. He had a rocket, he had size, he got speed, so he's close. I don't know if he saw the game mentally because he made a lot of mistakes when he was young. But I just think that Aaron Rodgers was that guy and forever historically for me will be the most talented quarterback that I've ever seen. But what does it mean? Right now, it means nothing. 0. Ev, what are we cooking up back there, bud? What do we got?
All right, I got a couple more questions.
By the way, how about the Yankees? We got
wait
until I get it. Tomorrow's going to be an interesting day on the Fan 10-2. Me and Sal. Yanks are in a world of hurt, and Aaron Judge, dude, there is nowhere to hide. He has been awful, but I'll do that tomorrow. Wow, Yankees are a mess. Go ahead.
Now, there's a lot of just like comments, but I got like 3 questions out of it. This guy,
Nice.
Sean Romeo, said, is Rodgers or Favre's time with the Jets worse? Which one was worse, Rodgers?
Is Rodgers or Favre's time with the Jets worse? I'm going to say it's Favre's. That's a good question. Now, Favre, before he hurt his shoulder, he was winning some games.
Yeah.
And I remember the game against the Cardinals where I'm pretty sure this is the game that Anquan Smith had his jaw shattered in the back of the end zone. Was it Eric Smith? One of their safeties hit him really. I don't think it was dirty, but I just remember that game. I remember where I was. I was at a bar in Manhattan watching that. And the Jets scored almost 60 points. So he had some moments. And then there was a game up in New England. And it was like 3rd and 11 or maybe even 4th and 11. And he hit Dustin Keller on a first down. They won the game. Like, he had a few moments. But the difference why I say Favre was worse is that Favre used us to get to another place, had some success with Minnesota, almost got to the Super Bowl, where I think Rodgers wanted New York. I think he wanted the challenge. I think he liked some of the talent. Rodgers is not going, I'd be stunned, is not going to go and play somewhere else. So I would say based on that, I think when it's done here, whether it's this year or next, it's over. So I'm going to say Favre.
Okay. This guy, Don, said, why aren't they using Malachi Corley and Mike Williams if the other guys aren't getting the job done?
Don't know. Corley is a guy that I was very intrigued by when they drafted him. We know the Yak, the Yak King, the Yak Machine. I saw him at one point on the field today, and it wasn't just special teams. He was in the huddle, but no, they don't use him at all. Now, listen, in fairness to the Jets, as crazy as this is going to sound, they actually do have almost an abundance of like an embarrassment of riches at the wide receiver spot. Yet they can't win and they really don't score. I mean, Devontae's a Hall of Famer. Garrett Wilson's terrific. I mean, I understand. So I don't. There's only so many plays to run. Corley's young. Williams just didn't get the job done, and he's now relegated to where he's relegated. They'll definitely trade him. So I don't think there's really a lot of room.
Yeah,
it's a good wide receiver room, but it's done nothing.
Yeah. This one, I don't know. It probably was just parody, but this guy, Matt Burns, said, would John Elway be a good next GM if they fired Joe Douglas?
Nah. No. I can't do that. I really don't know where they're going to go. That It's the money question, man. It's the I don't know. This is going to sound ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
But I'm going to say it. If you got me, I'm going to say it. If you got me a capologist, all right? If you got me a capologist, because I don't pretend to know that stuff. It's too complex. I was always more of a verbal guy than a math guy. Hey, do your job. Just crunch the numbers, right? I honestly think that I would do a better job.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and I don't think that I'm alone. And I know that a lot of us think that. Like, for years, I thought that with the Knicks when they were a disaster. And I know that that's a complete oversimplification of just how hard the job is. I get it. And in reality, I mean, I probably couldn't do a better job. But would I definitely be worse? I don't I don't think so necessarily, man. Any more?
And then the last one is like, I think the chat has like formed a group where it was like, who should we replace Zerline with?
No.
And everybody has been coming up in Mason Crosby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I listen.
Connection.
Yeah, I know. Bring them all back, all the Packers, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it, like, now I'm past the point. I don't even care. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like, it really, like, I'm not trying to be cute. I'm not trying to be funny. It means nothing. Who cares? I don't care. I'm not going to, except tomorrow, I'm sure, because I had to at least give you a couple of minutes of legitimate ire towards Zerline on the pod, which I did at the start. If you missed it, just, check it out, rewind it. You get up to speed in a little bit. But, and I'll do the same thing on the fan tomorrow with Sal. Although it's going to be mostly Yankees, but when we get to this, I'll crush Zerline. But, like, that's just too easy. All right, the guy obviously has unraveled mechanically. He can no longer trust his skill, and he is a broken football player. There's nothing else that needs to be said. The only thing that needed to be said was said before this week. Why the hell is he still on the team? So right now, it doesn't make an ounce of sense for me to expend an ounce of energy further on a guy who at this point, even if he misses every kick, it will not impact their season because they're not going to the playoffs. Who cares at this point? Zerline. Jeez. Hey, what was the first Jet team that you remember watching? Who was the quarterback?
I mean, the Sanchez ones were pretty, like the Rex Ryan era was kind of like the biggest one for me.
Yeah, I would think so, just based on based on your age. Well, I'll tell you one thing that I'm going to have no tolerance for. I don't know if you've gotten any in the comments. You don't have to pour for them. If you remember seeing it, just tell me.
Yeah.
I'm not dealing with the bring back Rex stuff.
Yeah, there's been plenty of those. It's just
did anybody write that?
Yeah, there's been plenty of those, but I just figured I was like, this
today? It's been written today?
Yep.
Oh.
When people started naming off coaches, he was one of the ones in the mix. You got to bring back Rex, maybe Gruden.
Gruden's, we'd have to examine his past a little more thoroughly.
Yep.
I mean, he's not going to get a chance in the NFL, I don't think. Again, maybe a smaller college. And I think even the game's changed. I mean, when you say put it this way, Gruden or Rex, Gruden for me. Yeah. But the Rex stuff to me, the way we romanticize that Jets era, it was fun with the two AFC championship games back to back. There's no question, but it's so overstated because people just conveniently choose to ignore all of the meltdowns after it. Like, and not just offensively. It's not just like, well, Rex didn't have a good quarterback. And I know he didn't, or Marty Morningweg was not a good offensive coordinator, and all the other things that were applicable. But there were times where Rex's defense, many times, one was against Tim Tebow, by the way, Jet fans, you should remember that, where they had a chance to make a late stop, the vaunted Rex Jets defense, and they got destroyed. I don't mean like 40-3. I mean at the point of contact, physically lit up at a point in the game where if it's the opposite, they can win. And I really like Rex. I think he's funny on TV, and I did like him as a coach, but it has been so hijacked the way people elevate Rex, the Rex Ryan era. But that's what happens when you're a shit team, because you take something that was good and you elevate it to great. No, great. What did they win? They won nothing. They didn't win. They didn't score a lot of points. They didn't make plays when they had to. And I know that you're going to start hearing this undercurrent. Oh, there's only one person that can come in here and save the Jets. Rex. Rex is bravado. No, I'm good. Rex has been on TV for too long. Not that he can't get fired up still, but the teeth are looking almost oddly white at this point. I mean, he's always tan. He still has a good head of hair. He looks good. He looks happy. Looks like he's eating a little bit, but not crazy. Have a couple beers, enjoying himself, making good TV money, doing some pods. Rex, you don't even want this for this stage of your life. And for me, I don't want you back. I don't mean it, but the Rex Ryan stuff is not happening on this podcast. There's nobody. It's just, that's not where we're going.
Exactly.
All right. So where are we going from here? Well, I'm going to all World Series, and they have a game on Thursday. And, I'm going to wrap it up with this here. And Ev, just for those who are watching live on YouTube, do me a favor, just tell everybody, since it's number 3, where to get the pod, where to subscribe, what to do, how to track this. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's available on every podcast platform. I put everything in the description below. So like the main 3 are the Odyssey app, which is what we kind of promote since we obviously work for Odyssey. Spotify. There's also like a link where you could just click on that link and it'll bring you to literally everyone, because there's some like Stitcher people and stuff like that, super like niche ones that people listen to.
For sure.
That. And then the schedule going forward for now is we're going to be live after every single game. And then for our midweek episode, the entire thing is going to be on the podcast platform.
Yep.
Then we're going to put out clips of like, your best takes from it to try to get people to also listen to the audio.
Yeah,
so
sure.
We're trying to do a little of both, and then we'll see how it goes. And then we might end up doing both on YouTube, but that's kind of the current.
I love it. Listen, a little experimentation. This is the 3rd episode, and I told you each week we'll add a little bit more. So today, and I do think the comment section is going to be a lot of fun moving forward. You guys are the best, man. Jet fans is the best. I mean, I think that's part of the reason why that rant occurred. Like it wasn't just for me. It was derived from my anger and my reluctance to accept our fate. But it's because I know there's so many of us out there who wake up on Sunday morning and you still had that twinge of excitement and anticipation, and whether it's the jersey or the tailgates or watching in the backyard or having people over, throwing the football around, getting ready for the game. And invariably, it always ends the same way. It is uncanny. Hey, that's the new, instead of unkillable. Yeah. Well, it's uncanny. We are uncanny. We are, this is unreal. Man, we suck. God, Jets, you are disgraceful. All right, dude, I'm going to sign off. I'm going to get on my day. Hey, it should be a happy day with the, I'll tell you, that's one thing I'm great at, As soon as I walk out this door, and I'm going to give you, not you, all of you, a little PSA from somebody who's probably older than many of you watching, or at least some of you for sure, and is a husband and is a dad to 2 kids, 8 and 9 years of age. If you allow this team, if you allow this franchise to dictate your personality, I don't mean like, all right, game's over. You take that little walk around the house or whatever ritual you have to unpack the energy and the emotion, the fire. I don't mean that, right? If you let this linger into tonight and you let, what could be some great family time, maybe a little late to go snag a pumpkin right now, but go for a walk, shoot hoops in the yard, have a catch with your kid, kick the ball around with your daughter, watch politics with, everybody's watching both sides now for sure. I know I am. Don't. It is the most useless and wasted energy, and we don't get this time back. Like, it's one thing not to get the 3 hours of complete wasted space back. You commit to a game, you watch it, we're never getting that back. Don't let it linger into your life. It's not that important. It is, but it's not. So basically, I mean, just deal with it, man, and learn to deal with it in a way that is productive. And I say that because I do get a lot of tweets, and I don't know, are they exaggerating? And sometimes they might be, but I actually have people tweet me after games like today. I can't even like talk to my family. I can't. Come on, man. That's because of the Jets. The Jets. And here's the saddest irony. And now I'm going to bounce, right? That this jersey behind me, Joe Willie, number 12. the greatest figure in our history, I never even saw him throw a pass. I mean, it's like, doing a Yankee podcast and having a Babe Ruth jersey behind you and never having one after that. And you obviously didn't see Babe Ruth play. Wow. All right, better days ahead, I guess. Probably not. Well, not this year. Not this year. And next pod, and I will get into this more thoroughly, the GM coaching stuff. Yeah. Is it time to tank? I can't believe I'm asking it. And I know that the players won't tank. You got to differentiate. They're not doing it. They're not tanking. But are we now, as fans, do we now hope to lose? I think I'm pretty much there. And the worst thing now is that we get to go on our next game. It's not buried at 1:00, like against the Giants, maybe, 8 games going around the NFL. Nope. Next time that the nation gets to see the New York Jets, it's on national TV, which means who's the punchline yet again? Us. So, guys, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I appreciate you checking in. Love the comments. Thank you very much for that. Spread the word. Spotify, Apple, YouTube, via WFAN's YouTube page. Me and Sal tomorrow from 10 to 2. Yankees, Judge. Wow. Have a great Sunday. I'll catch you guys soon. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.